Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and good podcasting. Welcome, sports fans, to another episode of the Regulars Podcast. I am Joe Hansen, one of your hosts, joined as always by my fellow host, Ryan Tibbs. And my other host, Trenton Gauthier.
I won't leave you hanging there, Joe. Of course we're here, but I was waiting for that. You keep talking about this intro music. I'm waiting for one of these days.
Yeah, it'll come. It'll come. I don't know that.
I thought the podcast had died. I didn't even know we were bringing it back.
This podcast will never die. This will be one of those things where we'll be like, 5 years from now, just like, you guys want to just boot it up again, and we'll just keep doing it. Like every once in a while, there will be no structure. If there is structure, we will quickly nip that in the bud and try to keep it as sporadic and random as possible, just to keep it, fresh for everybody, not only ourselves but everybody.
Yeah,
else.
the podcast, it's kind of just going to have a life of its own, whether people are ready for it or not. Whenever we have something to talk about, that's when we're going to do the pod.
Exactly. I like that.
And I don't necessarily know if we have anything to talk about tonight, but we're still going to do it. We're
going to talk. And Joe, you got to kick us off here. So you went and did some wrestling extravaganza, extraordinaire type situation stuff. Hit us with where you were and what it was for the people at home.
Yeah, myself and my lady friend Monica went to, for the second month in a row, went to St. Paul, the Loyal Order of Eagles bar, and saw some higher ground wrestling, which, as people probably know, if they're found my work on the internet, they know I do love wrestling, but this is the definition of local and independent wrestling. It is real small venue. Like I said, it's like a banquet hall, I guess. Probably fits maybe 50 people in the crowd. But it is what it might lack in some of the pizzazz. It certainly makes up for in charm, and you have a chance to meet and talk to all the wrestlers and say hello and get to know them on a personal level. And yeah, it's just fun. Probably I'm going to want to go back next month. They have a outdoor show over in St. Paul, but I definitely would check it out again. It's just a fun time. And as I always say, even if you don't love wrestling, pro wrestling on the level I do, I think you would still have fun at live wrestling, just because if you're willing to kind of forego your disbelief of what's going on, you can have fun regardless.
No, wait. How does one find about these shows? Because I've never seen this advertised in my small bubble of the world. So, how did you find this?
I only found about it through Monica. The thing that kind of I would say is you have to know somebody who's going to promote it. A lot of the wrestlers will have their Twitter accounts where they'll tweet out, "Here's where I'm wrestling this weekend." So if there's somebody you see on TV or YouTube or whatever that you like, and then you start following them, that's a good way to find out about them. I'm sure there's some sort of advertising on it too on Facebook and whatnot, but not being on Facebook, I don't see it as others might.
Has anybody Joe, go ahead, Tibbs.
Is this Eagles 34?
It might be.
Eagles 34 VFW, right?
Yeah, well, it's I think it's like the Loyal Order. Yeah, that sounds right.
I think that's what you said. Yeah.
Because that is where I did a New Year's Day
stand-up
comedy.
That is the sad comedy. Well, I think they get a little better crowd for wrestling than from what I heard about your sad comedy day there. It wasn't you that had the sad day. It was the world of comedy.
That is hilarious.
That is a range of events. That is a range. I can only imagine like the type of crowd that comes to a wrestling event versus like a comedy event versus, I mean, hell, whatever else they have at these at this
Oh
place
no,
for an
when they
event.
were doing stand up, there was one audience member and it was Austin. And they asked him when he was going to go up. He was like, "Oh no, I'm here to watch the show," and they were shocked
Oh no!
because I don't think they'd ever had an audience member there.
Wait, so explain to me how did not Tibbs? I'm not trying to poach Joe's
Yeah, but
story
by all
or
means,
like
I didn't
undermine
have
Joe's
too much
story
more to
here.
say. So go ahead.
But like, how did that happen? Like, explain that situation, Tibbs. How do you go to a show? Because did you play? It was an open mic. Did you get paid to do? Like, what was the
Oh no, I did not
situation?
get paid. Nope, it was New Year's Day, which I mean everyone's hungover. You don't hear like of a lot of New Year's Day events.
Yeah.
And it was just this lady who runs a comedy show and asked me if I wanted to come on to it. Invited Austin and showed up. They had bingo going at the same time. So you could be in the room and you could hear them calling bingo. And then it was just like any kind of it felt like just any kind of old crappy open mic where you go up and you're just practicing your set because there's no audience. But yeah, it was
That,
New Year's Day, and I mean they promoted it as it was a show. There was a crappy flyer, but no, there
that
was no audience or anything.
that was a different world of Tibbs there. You were on the serious comp. That is the definition of on the grind. You were like, I don't care who shows up to this. I need to go work on my stuff. And here I go. I don't care who's there. And it is what it is right now. Did you still did the set? Now, was it weird to do it in front of only one person that you knew?
Oh no, I mean I did it so much. I mean you do way more in stand up comedy in front of other comedians than you ever do in front of a crowd. Like I did one night, the most I ever did was 3 times in a night, but some comedians I know did it 7 days a week. I mean Joe was also an only audience member once. Had an even way worse mic where the microphone didn't work. So
I'm trying to
Yeah,
remember though. I don't think because I went with you quite a bit at your relatively your peak at the time, I guess, in memory. Like we never had that instance happen, but was that because you were when we went, we were usually going to more of a, solid place,
yeah, I think so. I know that you went to a smaller show, but yeah, there was always some audience. I
right?
think when you went.
Or like you said, like fellow comedy people, right? Like I think I went to one show where it was like mostly comedians, and then like maybe me or one other person was like a
Yeah,
non-comedian.
and I mean a lot. Sometimes you'll have supportive ones, and other times you'll be. Well, we've all heard each other's jokes, so
Well,
no.
sometimes I feel like when you did the comedy jokes, like they were definitely different than you telling a story to us, right? Because obviously you're trying to hit like, your comedic lines and timing, and you're trying to keep it kind of short and simple.
Yeah, I
So
mean it's hard to
I
fit a
always
story
felt
into 3 minutes. So
right. I always felt like when you told your stories on stage, I almost felt like it was like a I don't know what the word you want to use, like a remix or like a variant of your actual story that maybe I had already heard, but in this way, in the comment, on the stage, it was always a little bit different. So I always felt like I never was like watching you and going, "Man, I've heard this so many times. I'm gonna tune this out." Like I was always interested, which I think is why I always thought you were pretty good at it.
I appreciate it, man. I missed it. My last set, Joe went there and it went good, and then I just had enough of it because I was like, this ain't going nowhere. You got to be so talented and a little bit lucky to ever make it. And I was like, well, doing this a couple times a week, and the good ones doing it 7 times a week is just too much with an actual full time job.
Now, would you like? Would it not be worth it, or would you just not be good enough if you only did it like let's say you did it once a week or like once every other week? Like would it not even be worth it because you just wouldn't be good, or like because like do you
Well,
need the reps, or how does that
the
work in
the
your mind? How does
problem
that
with
work?
that is, I mean, I could go on for an hour talking about this topic. So sorry, Joe, that I did still the spotlight. I was just wondering about the Eagles 34, but
no, go, man. This is what the pod's about. Good conversations. The conversations you'd have at the bar.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, so what happened is I found out there's a big time comedy culture where you're just never going to get invited to do a big show in front of a nice crowd unless they see you out grinding at the mics.
Mm.
So some will say, you need the reps, you need the practice, which is true, but also you just need to keep being seen so that eventually someone who's going to put on a big show will be like, okay, that guy's good. maybe he does bring a little bit of a crowd. He can get some laughs in pretty much any kind of scene. So I would like him on my show. So you kind of have to grind it out. Like I've seen people at the Acme Comedy Club, and that's the biggest one in Minneapolis. I've seen people sign up for 6 straight months without ever getting up, and they just keep signing up because they think if they finally get up, have a good set, maybe they can eventually, keep getting time at the Acme open mic and eventually get hired by Acme, which does happen occasionally. But you have to grind and you got to be patient, and I think you do got to get a little bit lucky and have the right people like you too. I mean, for a while I was getting on with a guy named KJ, and I got a couple paid gigs because he was getting paid, and then he would bring me to be his middle. So there'd be an opener, I would be the middle, and then he would be the headliner. And I actually got paid 3, 4 times working with him, but then I just didn't stay with the comedy grind. So,
Man, what could have been and what could be someday, you never know if the itch comes back.
Yeah, kind of following your little foray into comedy. This kind of does circle back to our start of our wrestling discussion. So something I didn't talk a ton about. Well, I knew while I knew you guys, and haven't really talked about publicly in several years, was the fact that I used to be involved in the wrestling world as a referee. And I always saw a lot of similarities between open mic comedy and the kind of local wrestling scene, in that, yeah, it kind of is just about going and making the reps and having matches on little shows like this where you're maybe making $25 a night. It's all guys that I'm sure drove from their home and will sleep in their own bed tonight. Nobody was
right.
flown in to see this to work at this show. Yeah, I think that's that was an observation I always had.
Did you at one time, like when you were kind of in that grind, think, oh, maybe I could, work my way up and be into wrestling or be a wrestling ref, like, or was it always just fun, or like, because for me, I always was like,
Sure.
this is a hobby. I don't think I'm gonna ever grind to try to make it. Did you ever was it a
Yeah,
hobby, or were you ever trying to make it? Maybe.
no, it was for sure a hobby. I mean, I was my cousin, promoted shows up in Duluth and in the surrounding areas. He's done a couple shows like in Eau Claire and in down here in the Twin Cities area, but he's kind of stepped away from it now. But I digress. The point being, I only ever worked really for him. I never
Right.
really branched out and tried to be a referee anywhere else. And I was doing it for free for him. So, which was its own thing, where it was like he didn't expect much of me because I was doing it for free. But then I always kind of felt like there should be someone who actually is into this, who's in there doing the grind, deserves to be doing this referee spot too, even. So that was kind of why I ended up kind of backing away from it.
And now, in a similar sense, I mean, both of you guys have kind of put your foot in the water a little bit for streaming, right? Like, I know Trenton's pretty heavy into it right now.
Yeah, I think, and Joe, you probably, I would think you would agree with this, but I feel like in a way, people on streaming platforms, it's almost like an open mic, but for like as long as you want.
Right.
Like you can go out up here and just go out here, talk about what you want to talk about, and no one can stop you, and you can do whatever you want. So like that's kind of the cool thing, and I think that's where I struggle a lot of the time, is like I just focus on for instance, I'd like to just play games, and I don't really think about like, oh, how am I gonna like be funny, or how am I gonna like talk about a certain topic. I kind of just let it free flow and see what I talk about. But I think that's why it's nice to have eventually you get some chat people and they kind of prompt you and talk about things, and you can kind of go off of that. But I think that's definitely how I look at it. It is kind of similar in a way that it's like an unlimited open mic and no one can stop you.
Yeah, no one's giving you the light and saying,
right, exactly.
Get up the stage, you're never getting to come here again.
Exactly. And I don't know what you think, Joe. Like, did you ever feel like you should like think about how to be funny, or like jokes you should make, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I did. Not like in a huge way, but I definitely like put a lot of pressure on myself. Like I have to be entertaining, or I'm never going to get any audience. And um, truth be told, I would occasionally have one or two extra people pop in, but I never really had anyone else more than when you guys are like, actually watching. And I always appreciate you guys watching and joining in on the chat or whatever, but it always felt like it was kind of a waste of time for all of us in some ways.
Right. The way I look at it, and I actually have had this trouble with the streaming part, and I've talked to Carmen about this a few times, where it's like I've now that I've started doing this, I've felt like if I play games in my free time, it's kind of a waste of time to play games in my free time. Like if I'm going to play games, I probably should just stream instead of just not streaming and playing games. And I actually, when one of the latest games came out, the Pokemon Arceus game, I was like, oh, I'm going to only play it on stream. I want to like experience it for the first time on stream. And then I got really busy because I think it came out right in the middle of basketball season. And obviously I'm traveling and I'm gone and this, that, and the other. And usually when you travel, you have a little more free time. You can maybe play some games, watch movies, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm going to wait until I come back. And that was kind of the struggle. So that's definitely like the balancing act from my perspective that I struggle with a little bit too, is like, if I want to just play games, I feel like I should just, hit the go live button. And then in that respect, and I'm removing myself from other stuff. I can't just like, take the dog out or do the dishes. Like then I'm live and I feel like I need to sit here and entertain everybody and stay live and stay as engaged as I can. So it's definitely a balancing act. And I think when you were talking about like you're just kind of wasting time or just going live to nobody. I mean, I see it that way in a way. I mean, there's been a few streams that I've done where I'm like, wow, there's literally like me and Joe in the chat. Like I literally have my phone open, which is one viewer, and then I have Joe, or somebody else. And it's those kind of stink sometimes, and it is what it is. But that's why I think I'm just like, well, this is kind of like how it would be if I was just playing by myself, anyways.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, as you know, and we have a bit of a point of contention of with the Switch. I love playing it handheld too. So if there was a way for me to stream and be live, and then just also laying on the couch with the Switch in front of me, then maybe I would like streaming more. But that's another little small roadblock for me. Is just that's typically not how I play, is sitting at the desk.
Yeah, the desk thing has definitely been a struggle for me. Like, because I also am the same. I like to be kind of relaxed in like a recliner or like on the couch or something. Even if I'm playing on the TV or something like that. And I've never really been a huge like PC gamer. Like one of my college roommates, he was a huge PC gamer. He was kind of the first kind of person that I saw kind of firsthand, where that was like the only primary way that he played games was at his computer and at his desk. And I always felt like it was kind of different and something that I wasn't necessarily used to. So I'm definitely getting used to that as well. And I think it definitely is a interesting kind of struggle almost, because it's like, even from this, I got a nicer computer chair a couple months ago. And even still now, I'll come out and I'm like, man, my chair makes me so warm. And obviously the computer running in here. And if the doors closed, it gets a little bit warmer in here. And it's like, man, I wish I could just, relax and have, a little bit cooler and things like that. So that's definitely a struggle, man. I totally get where you're coming from the, it's not, you're not used to playing at the desk.
Yeah, it's a small thing, but it's
Right. No,
it's
I
still a
get it.
thing.
Yeah. All right, guys. So Tibbs, I think you were the one, or who brought up the old school commercials thing? Because I have nothing to contribute, but I literally like Googled old famous funny commercials. So I'm like, all right, as long as I can contribute one thing, I will contribute something. But go ahead and tell me what you guys want to talk about.
Why did me and Tibbs started talking about it? But Tibbs, you even remember what brought it on originally? Some dumb comment I made, but I'm sure.
Yeah, I can't remember how we first thought about old school commercials, but I just remember we were thinking about our favorite ones. And Joe, you made a great list that you rattled off. And I remember the one that you left out, my all time favorite from Budweiser, was the "What's up?"
Oh, I said, well, yes, I said the Budweiser frogs were in there.
Yep.
And yeah, we said the one thing I missed was was and then I also had the
Burger King.
Burger King Shut Up Hunger, which is a personal favorite of ours. Yeah,
That is, and the Burger King creepy guy, which we like to send to.
well, yeah, we like to send to friend of the podcast. We'll call him Mike B because some people here might not be able to associate with him. Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of like what do you remember?
Oh, it started with
Like
the Dodge. Is that thing a Hemi? Or
oh
does
yep,
that thing
yep,
Hemi? That's how we started
yep.
talking about it.
That was how we started. Yeah, that didn't go to Hemi. I was thinking, what are some if we're talking old school commercials, like growing up in the '90s, watching like Saturday morning cartoons or whatever. Do you guys remember like crazy commercials from watching cartoons or like weird food commercials, cereal commercials, or whatever?
Well, I got one quick here that I just found while quickly searching. Oh, I was going to bring up the Skittles one where they did the Taste the Rainbow thing for a long time. They kept doing really weird Skittles commercials, and the one that came up to that I found right away was where like the kid has like chicken pox, but it's Skittles, and the girl like rips it off his face and eats it. I always thought that was so weird. But that one came to mind right away when I was looking at this Reddit thread.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, is it contagious?" And then she gets the
yeah.
That one was on TV for years.
Right, I think that's why I remember it because it was just on for so long. Because like the Taste the Rainbow ad was like kind of their thing for a long time, so I think they just kept running with it.
Yeah.
The one I remember that's associated with childhood is which is now a TikTok trend, I guess, is the Kool-Aid Man bursting through.
Oh yeah, the Kool-Aid Man bursting through the wall. Yeah,
the Kool-Aid Man would burst through the wall or whatever. That's now a TikTok trend where kids are now like breaking fences and bursting through. Oh yeah,
that's so amazing. Kids are weird, but I love it.
Cops are now on like the lookout for property damage because they're like just doing this
in
random places, and then they just do the oh yeah.
That makes me think of the Capri Sun commercials too, that were just like ridiculous and random.
I just saw an old Capri Sun commercial. Maybe it was on Good Mythical Morning or something where it was like ocean mist flavor or something, and that whenever somebody drank it, they just got hit with a friggin' tidal wave, basically.
Oh yeah,
that's the kind of Capri Sun stuff I remember.
I do remember that. Green and purple ketchup that they'd be advertising. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Even though I was a kid who loved ketchup, like put ketchup on way too many things than was normal, I did not mess with the colored ketchup. I didn't like that idea.
Oh wait, what about the you guys bringing up condiments? You guys bring up the condiments. What about you guys remember the commercials for like they made like purple ketchup? Do you guys remember that? Do you ever remember those commercials?
Isn't that what Tibbs just said?
Oh, is that what he was saying? I was like zoned out and looking at other commercials here.
Oh, come on.
Well, I found the Where's the Beef commercial.
Oh, really that was like 80s though.
You really just repeated the ketchup thing.
Hey, that was let's be honest, that was hilarious that I was zoned out and then I just brought up the exact thing that you were talking about 30 seconds before. That is comedy gold.
That's got to be our first clip ever of the podcast.
That was not bad. Definitely. We're inside of a clip right now, guys. Say hello to the audience.
I thought Callie was about to join the podcast, but then when she heard that tomfoolery.
Somebody's on this thing is talking about the old block. What about the old Sasquatch like beef jerky commercials?
Those are still like around, aren't they?
Yeah, that's not we got to cut.
But those are
still see those on the Twins game.
That one's definitely like broke through the test of time. It's just like stayed around for a long. What are like some that makes me think of the guy from like Can You Hear Me Now? Good. Now he's like working for Sprint. What was that like? What was that? What did he work with before?
He did Verizon originally.
Verizon, yes. But he's still around too. That's like that's funny how commercials have worked. You know, they've like kind of made a full circle around. Like they'll do these callbacks now to old commercials in like current commercials. That's always weird too.
I remember they had the freecreditreport.com band.
Yeah.
And didn't they have an actual contest to find the new band?
They kept trying to make those guys live, and no song ever slapped as hard as the first one for them.
I mean, the one I remember to this day that it literally will be ingrained in my mind forever is the Reese's Puffs commercial, and they might still use the song now, but it's the Reese's Puffs, peanut butter chocolate flavor, and they like it's like a rap, and they have like a DJ that it's like super cringe, but it's hilarious.
The song is stuck in my head is J.G. Wentworth.
Yes, it's my money and I need it now.
When I worked overnights at Target, we would have our lunch at like 3:30, I think, it was like 3:30 to 4, and every single day we had the same channel on TV because it was like the one local channel that actually had something on TV still. And at like 8, I want to say like 8:46 every single day, that J.G. Wentworth 877 Cash Now song came on at the exact same time and was excruciatingly loud compared to every other commercial.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was just every single day. It was absurd.
That sounds like hell.
I didn't notice this, so I was actually going to bring up the you guys. Most people know this commercial; they've seen it probably 100 million times because it's been the same exact commercial forever. But every like holiday season, Hershey's Kisses does like the "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," and they all like the little kisses are like little bells, and they like
rattle. I remember that.
Oh, apparently, and I was just looking it up because I was trying to find out like when the first time they played it or like when it started, and apparently in 2020. They like changed it for the first time since I think it said 1989.
Oh my
where
God.
They apparently a girl like halfway through the commercial like goes and like picks one up or something. Or it says with the hand in the picture, I like it better when so like basically somebody like grabs a Hershey's Kiss out of it, and everyone apparently on social media that year just freaked out and was like not happy with what happened because like you can't mess with perfection. This is the perfect commercial, and now you've ruined it. Because I always thought I had heard a story about this commercial where they by not making a new commercial every year, apparently the company, the Hershey's company or whatever, which I don't think that's actually a company, aren't they owned by somebody? But they would like the money that they would save on.
No, Hershey is definitely the company.
Is it? I didn't know if it was owned by like somebody else.
No, it's owned by the Hershey family.
Okay. Well, I heard that they had it was a thing where the money that they would have spent on a commercial, they then would like donate to some cause or something. I think there was a certain cause that they were doing it to. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's why every time I saw that commercial, I'd do the whole, point to the TV and be like, "Hey, I know this commercial, and like I know why they do this and why it's still the same after all these years." But apparently, they changed it in 2020, which I did not know.
Yeah, maybe I knew that at some point, but I definitely don't remember it. So that is very interesting.
It is funny. There's so many commercials. Like I want to honestly do more of a deep dive into just like hilarious old commercials. Because there are some where you look back and you're like, holy hell, how was that okay to do? Like some of those kind of commercials where it was literally like not like there were jokes that were not appropriate.
Well, how about one of our own personal favorites? Remember like the truth anti-drug campaigns, and the one we often bring up, the one where the kid gets so high that he literally melts into his couch.
Yes, I do remember that. I was like, when you first started saying that, I was like, okay, I don't remember this. And as soon as you said melt into the couch, I was like, bingo, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes, that was a good one. Man, there's so many. It's like now that I'm like looking through this like page, it's like there's too many to remember.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Who knew our silly talk about commercials would
I'm
lead
going
to
down the rabbit hole.
20-minute spirited discussion.
Trenton
Do we
said he
want
had one thing to talk about with the commercial, and then he just kept going.
Yeah, right.
Did you guys hear about the purple ketchup?
No.
No, what was that, Tibbs?
Don't do that, man. Don't do that.
No, I got to hear more. Beautiful,
Old school.
beautiful
So wait,
people.
okay. So Tibbs now wants to talk about his trip to Valley Fair, which he.
Well, I wanted to. Well, I think I had originally pitched this as an idea. We could talk about your trip to Valley Fair, and in that, also talk about, our favorite amusement park experiences as well.
Well, I would first of all, before Tibbs gets going here, I would just like to pull the joke card and just say, thanks for the invite. But now you can definitely tell us the story.
Well, I like Joe's idea better if we can just say our favorite Valley Fair ride or amusement park rides. I don't really have much of a story other than I am getting old because I was having a great amusement park day, great Valley Fair day, hanging out with Nikki and her niece and nephew all day and riding all the rides. And then the very last one of the day, we went on Still Venom, and I pulled a damn muscle in my back. So I've just been laid up.
Now tell the audience.
And now I'm laying on the couch. I mean, I can barely move this thing. It's pretty messed up.
Now tell the audience, because you come into the chat and you're letting us know, man, this thing just ruined my back, and I'm like, hey man, why don't you go do something about it? But then you respond with, no, I just rather would grumble about it. And it literally just like made me like I was almost like mad about it. I was like, are you serious, man? Like, you just want to be mad about this? And it was just like a hilarious moment where I was like, I don't know why I'm mad about Tibbs not doing something about his back hurting, but now I'm mad about it for some reason.
You just shown your age there too, because you were like, hey man, this is very serious. Like you gotta go to a chiropractor tomorrow, all this. And I'm like, what is your deal, dude? I pulled a muscle in my back, and you were being so dramatic about it. I think that shows your age as well.
Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, it's like it's the classic thing. Like as a kid, you're like, "I'll just rub some dirt on it," but it's like now you get older, you're like, "Well, why don't you do something about it?" Or like, but yeah, I think I mean, to a point, I'm definitely like that in a lot of my aspects of my life, where I'm like, "Nah, I'm not going to deal with that. That sounds like way too much work."
I don't think you've still gotten your wisdom teeth out, so you shouldn't be complaining to me about my strained muscle in my back.
This is true. I did get some teeth work done at the end of last year, and then we were like, "Oh, we'll wait until the year resets for like dental whatever insurance, because otherwise I have to pay more." And I have not gone back. It's now June, so
oh my god,
I probably should go back. But like, I did have 2 root canals, and I guess I just don't want more things to happen because I know more things have to happen.
Did you ever get your wisdom teeth taken out or no?
No. So the plan is I'm still going to go back and I need to get some other smaller stuff done. And then they're like, hey, until you have some more pain in your wisdom teeth, don't get them out until like late. Like they're like, do this other stuff first, because that's probably, you should do it more. That's smaller stuff more now. They're like the root canal or the wisdom teeth. They're like, that's not going anywhere. So like, unless you have some issues, then we'll take it out. But otherwise, we'll wait. So the plan was to not get out my wisdom teeth until the 2023 calendar year.
Oh my god.
But that was actually like per the dentist's orders. So that's still technically, I'm following the rules. I just need to go back, probably get a cleaning done, probably, get everything else, the dental plan, as the dentist was calling it, to continue. But, I'm just being a classic degenerate male, I guess. I guess it doesn't necessarily only men, but I also rarely have met women that don't take care of their teeth probably better than I do. So maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not a man thing.
Well, all I know is get off my back about my.
Oh man. Well, no, going back to the Valley
get off
Fair
the
thing.
Man's back. He just told you he heard it.
Going back to the Valley Fair thing. I mean, I don't know if you guys have a favorite ride, but when I worked there,
you worked there, yeah.
Yeah, well, I got to bring that up. Obviously, I mean, I got to tell people. I'll probably tell people in the next 5 minutes at least 3 to 4 times, so they know.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone understands that I did work there for 1 summer, so I'm basically an expert.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you bring that up, I'm not gonna. My favorite ride is probably Renegade, which is towards the back of the park. It's a wooden ride.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite as well.
That is also mine, just as if we're all saying that.
But it makes me laugh because it makes me think about our last trip there as a group where I saw a guy that I worked with when I was a freshman in college. And I literally was like, there was probably like a 1% chance that he remembered who I was. But for whatever reason, I remembered exactly who he was. And I was like, but I don't want to talk to him because he's had some questions. Like, he's one of those people where, like, you were friends with them, but not super close with them, but you were friends enough with them to, like, follow each other on social media. And over the years, he's made some questionable posts in the sense of, like, you know what, I don't really think I want to necessarily be friends with you. And I guess it's just been too much of work to, like, unfriend them. So I just avoided it. Don't worry about it. And I really don't go. I think the only thing I'm friends with them is on Facebook. So I'm not very much on there anyways. But we saw him and I literally was like, I need to avoid all eye contact and make sure I do not talk to this person. And Tibbs looks at me, he goes, I don't know exactly what you said, but you basically were like, well, why don't you say hi or something and see if he remembers you? And I was like, I just can't, man. Like, he's kind of weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, he's a questionable guy. And that all came back to me just now when he brought up Valley Fair.
Yeah, Renegade is a great ride. That was the one I was most excited for yesterday.
Well, you got to go on, what was didn't you say a second one, Hurt Your Back? The one that was not open when we were there last year? What was that one?
No,
the one
that's
way in the back by Renegade?
Was Excalibur. I had never rode Excalibur until yesterday.
Oh. Well, yeah, I always kind of liked that one too. How did you think that one stacked up?
I liked it. I didn't think it was anywhere near as good as Renegade. I mean,
no.
They only got. I mean, other than the Wild thing, I think it's the highest drop.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun, but otherwise, I was just kind of like, oh, that was pretty good.
Well, you were talking about the one that hurt your back. That was Steel Venom, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Steel Venom, because when Steel Venom shot backwards and it does like that jarring stop.
Yep.
I just felt something instantly in my back, and then when I first got off, I was like, oh man, Nicky, I think that one hurt my back. And then it wasn't until the ride home where I was like, oh, that like really hurt my back.
Yeah, sometimes when it takes a while to set in when you're getting old injuries. I speak to you guys as the eldest
I was just
member of the podcast but only slightly.
Like, I can't even make it through a damn amusement park day anymore. And I'm supposed to be going to an amusement park in a couple of weeks here. We're going to one that's supposed to be the biggest one in the Midwest, and I'm like, man, I hope my back's better by then.
What's that one called? Is it Cedar Fair or is it something else?
Called Worlds of Fun.
Oh, I don't know if I've heard. Where is that one?
Kansas City,
man.
Oh yeah, you're right. I don't know. I've never heard of that. It must. I think the only reason I even know the one that's in Ohio is because it's like the sister park of Valley Fair, and they'd always talk about it when I worked there. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that I did indeed work at Valley Fair. So,
thanks.
Yeah, I know. I just want to make that perfectly clear. So, but Tibbs, what's the? How did you hear about the one in KC? Is it just a big deal, or like did someone recommend it to you?
I just was looking up things to do in Kansas City.
Yeah. I think there's a lot. Isn't there just a ton to do in Kansas City?
Yeah, there's more than I thought, because when I had first always wanted to go there, it was just for the barbecue, and I was like, well, I can't justify a trip just for barbecue.
Well, you could.
You could, but I was kind of in my head like, I was like, I kind of want to be able to do something else. But so I looked up and it's like, oh, they got a huge zoo with hippo and rhinoceros. They got a bunch of breweries. They got like a world market. They got that big amusement park. So I was like, oh, I guess you can make a trip out of this.
Now I need to remember because, you made me think of this when you were just talking about all these things to do. Someone told me, actually, it was I think the track coach I work with, about a what's it called? Like a market thing they do. What are they called? They're called like farmers markets. I heard that there's a big one around Minneapolis. Do you guys remember? I need to ask this now, otherwise I'm definitely going to forget about it. What's like the big one that's around here? That's like a big farmers market.
I know there is some big ones. I know there's even a night market in St. Paul, and I'm not sure the name.
Joe, do you know? I feel like you've gone to some of these before.
N- No, I'm genuinely, I'm not even sure where your head came up with that now.
Oh, you're just talking about things to do, and Carmen and I are trying to find some things to do because Tibbs is always one-upping everybody on date ideas, and I'm like, all right, I need to think of an
Okay.
idea.
Yeah,
And I was
there
like,
are
ooh, a
there
farmer's
is
market could
yeah,
be
there's a
fun.
northeast one, but I think it's I think it's
That was
open
definitely not
Thursdays.
the biggest because I've been to the Northeast one.
No, it doesn't have to be the biggest. Just something to do. Just something to
Oh,
do,
I
man.
thought Trenton was talking about the biggest one or something.
Oh, I don't know what the biggest one is. I have no
Well,
idea.
what someone told me was like, hey, it's really big. Like he even told me like I should bring my girlfriend at some point, and I was like, oh, and now I can't remember what it is. I might just have to text him. He's a little busy, but I'll definitely have to ask him. So, speaking of Minneapolis things, someone sent me a tweet earlier today. I'm pretty sure this is a joke. You guys might know. This guy's kind of famous. I don't know who he works with. Daniel Feldman tweeted something out a couple weeks ago about how he saw a sign here, and I'm looking at the picture right now, and the sign says "Apply for free goats." Funds have been assigned for the introduction of free range goats to your area. These goats are intended to decrease mowing and improve community nutrition. You may also apply for up to 2 personal goats. Petitions for goats and supplies are to be made to the mayor's office, and it gives the phone number by July 15th. And on the bottom, it has the Meet Minneapolis, City by Nature, and the USDA logos. And someone just, Daniel Feldman tweets this out and says, be sure to get your goat. And it's like just super hilarious. And all of the jokes underneath it are just, a great thread. But I just needed to share that because someone sent that to me. And I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter.
I definitely did not.
No.
That's pretty funny though. Like even if that was like a joke, and I'm sure there's some sort of, behind the scenes as to the reason why, or somebody had a problem with the mayor's office, but I thought that was pretty funny. But
how bizarre.
So I don't really have much to talk about for my topic. I know Tibbs is like, what do you have to talk about? But I pretty much already talked about, like, we were talking about some streaming stuff. I bought a treadmill for $40. I actually walked on it right before the pod. I bought it for $40. The downside, it's a little skinny, but I'm definitely on my walking grind because I'm getting back to, I'm trying to catch up to Joe here on this weight loss journey here because I definitely have slacked a bit.
It was 70 degrees and sunny, and you're walking on a treadmill.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Well, listen, I had to test it out first of all. This is the first time I've got to walk on it for more than like 30 seconds, and I was like, I want to break this thing in. But the other problem, and I think I've somewhat talked to you guys about this, is I want to go on a walk, but usually I'm like, well, if I'm going on a walk, I should bring my dog. Well, my dog is like less than a year old still, and she's not that great at walking. We got to like, train her a little bit. And I've got to do a couple little kind of training walks where you bring some treats and, try to do the whole positive reinforcement thing, but it's been a work in progress. And yeah, I just haven't had chances to go on walks by myself, unfortunately. But now I have no excuse. So I can go at any time of the day and just hop on the treadmill, which is kind of the plus about it, right? Like having a random time. I could do it at 11 p.m. and not have to worry about it, going somewhere to walk.
Yeah, I feel
that's
that.
just my thoughts. That's just
no, man. It's totally worth it. Totally worth it.
I used to when I before I moved here, I actually used to go where I lived in South Carolina, and I actually would go up to our we had a soccer building with like a weight room in it that had like treadmills and stuff like that. And for a while there, when I was there, I would actually go and work out at like random hours of the night. I'd go up there at like 10 p.m. and like go work out or go on a walk on a treadmill or run on the treadmill. And I don't know why I'm definitely a night owl, way more than, you guys, especially now. You guys are all like, we're talking about getting old. You guys are going to bed at 9 p.m. Which is funny. The only one that's even close to me now is Austin, which makes me laugh a little bit. But that guy has a totally different lifestyle in regards to sleep schedules and stuff, which is like, that's a whole different story.
He's waking up at like 11 a.m.
Yeah, I don't understand how he pulls that off, but I give the man his props. He does it.
Whoa, Tibbs sounded like his speaker was going crazy. Do you have a thing?
Oh dear Lord. Well, on that note, I think we're gonna call it a podcast.
Wait, which one was that?
I can't hear myself. Is it like a balloon voice?
Yes. You literally sound like
Yes.
you took a giant hit of helium. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, you guys are both clearly on drugs. I'm the only one here who is not. So
There's nothing wrong with drugs, Joe.
Hey, I love drugs. Everybody, good night. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.